Welcome back. Here today on the beautiful campuses of Florida Panhandle Technical College. Here today with Lindsey McClellan. Lindsey is a student in the electrical program. You've seen Curtis Green, currently the instructor of that program, here on the show. We're going to talk to Lindsey today about the opportunities in the electrical field, maybe some of the reasons why she got involved in the electrical program. More importantly, why she chose Florida Panhandle Technical College. With over 40 degree and certification programs, there's something literally for everyone here, and we're going to explore all those subjects and more when we come back. We'll be right back. Welcome back. As mentioned, our guest today is Lindsey McClellan. Lindsey, thanks for taking the time. I know you're a little bit under the weather today and maybe you weren't in the best mood to come on over here, but I appreciate you being a sport and coming over and talking to us.
Thank you. I'm glad to. Appreciate it.
You are currently in the electrical program. We've seen you over there for a while now. Didn't realize you were that close to finishing up. You mentioned on the way over here today that you were within just a couple of months of being done. Let's start at the beginning. Why did you choose electrical? It's not the most common program that you would see women in, although we have seen other women in Curtis's class over there. Talk a little bit about how you got interested in electrical and why you chose that field.
It goes back to a family business, run and own business for years. My father, my grandfather, many uncles, cousins were electricians. So that kind of stuck home for me when I was trying to change and make a new direction, a new career choice. And then with technology and the placement that's available, the extremely wide open area and choices of electrical fields that there are nowadays, it just was a no-brainer. I could go anywhere.
Yeah, in talking to Curtis Green, the instructor of the course, it's amazed me when he starts talking about the wide range of applications for which an electrician would be needed. When you think electrician, you think of the guy that comes to your home, changes out an electrical switch or a receptacle or something like that. You guys are getting into some of the computer controls. You guys are getting into some of the pretty sophisticated stuff for which you need training and certification, and more importantly, for which they're willing to pay a really good salary.
Absolutely. The electricians and instrumentation, as we've known it in the past, is just growing in leaps and bounds. I mean, electricity is needed for near any and everything, from production to, just everything that is powered by electricity, essentially. So then you deal with the wiring of homes and houses, commercial, industrial. Then you deal with the equipment that's needed to run a home, a commercial building, and an industrial plant. And then you have the people that maintenance that, install that, and every variety in between. PLCs are now the new things that are managing production lines and things of that nature. And so it's just wide open in the fields that you really can take your career, and you can pull wire in houses, or you can go and wire up a production line in a control panel. So,
Florida Panhandle Technical College has only been a college for within the last year or so. For many, many years here, the campus was called Washington Holmes Technical Center, commonly called the VOTEC. Personally, from your aspect, what did it mean, if anything, for that name change? The reason I ask is because across the state, we've seen that when a technical center becomes a technical college, typically we enjoy about a 30% increase in recruitment of students, because no longer are people going to the VOTEC, they're now going to college. And if your friend is going to a 4-year college, and we'll argue the merits of that, because at the end of a year or so, you're going to come out of here and make a really good salary. They're going for 4 years with $100,000 of debt, and then they still have to get trained in something. So we'll talk a little bit about that later. But what I'm coming at from the side here is the fact that you're able to attend a college. Personally, to you, did that make a difference?
I saw the value far before the name change and the placement. I saw between my certifications, the schooling, the flexibility of it, the amount of training and that I would receive versus the tuition cost, the expenses, not only my tuition, my lab fees, and my book cost. So I weighed those out. I have family members who say that they'll be paying their debt till they're in their 60s, and almost literally My brother enjoys a master's, and my cousin is a college professor, and so I understand, what that means and what college degrees can afford you in life, but there also is the debt ratio. Me, with the name changing, it did instill a sense of pride and value that, I was happy that I will have that college thing by me, but within the trades and within the labor and the career fields that I'm choosing, I hope that value will be seen, but more than that is you can receive as much of an education and then some, and also be able to live and not have to have that debt follow you for life.
So for you, to put it in the simplest terms, maybe it was show me the money.
Yeah, I could see that I could come here and work that within my family's schedule, within our budget, within our cost, and Pell Grant funding, and be able to still get out of that as much money at the end of it, and be able to obtain as good of a career as anyone.
Lindsey, would it be fair to presume that you, after high school, went a different route? You did something else in life. Obviously, you're not as young as some of the high schoolers or fresh out of high schooler students that we've got coming here. Talk a little bit about that transition and how you ended up here following that little bit of life following high school.
After high school, I didn't pursue a career as far as schooling and getting in the workforce. I was a stay-at-home mom for many, many years. I had a husband that was in the Marines, and so I followed him along. And I took up part-time jobs from here and there. Initially, when I started back and deciding what kind of career I wanted to go down, I moved back to the Panhandle, back here to Florida, and my mother thought that I should join into the corrections and become a correctional officer. And I did come to school here and attended and become a certified correctional officer, but I really realized that wasn't my career calling and path either. It wasn't something I desired. So I was able to come back, and I have had to split up my schooling over 3 school years, and the college here has worked with me very, very well in doing so. I've had to stop and work at different times and come back, but now I'm at the last stretch of it, finally finishing up now.
First of all, thank you for your service. We firmly believe that military families are as important as those men serving in harm's way. So thank you for that. Yours is not an unusual story. Many times we speak to students, either already graduated or in these programs, who had another life, who either lost a job or had a life change of some kind, who decided in some fashion that they needed a new career. You mentioned financial aid. In the pre-show, you mentioned that you were taking advantage of some of the Pell Grants. Talk a little bit about that process, how you discovered what financial aid was available, and the process you went through to be able to secure that financial aid.
Well, simply enough, it was something just through friends and family who kept mentioning Pell Grant. I had friends that were attending online classes and school from home. And when I checked into it and then looked at the pricing, and I found out I was approved and at 100% approval, because there is a scale, there is a fee depending on your income, or if you're a younger adult, maybe applying, sometimes it's based upon your parents' income. And so I did qualify 100%, and with that being available, it covered all of my tuition. And then I got back some every few months or so once I met my hours and criteria, and then I was able to buy my books out of that. A little bit of extra living expense comes from that as well. So,
yeah, and that's a wonderful story and a wonderful opportunity for that financial aid. But as you pointed out, it doesn't pay at all. You've still got to live. So as you point out, you took time in between, took a little time off, went to work or made some money to come back. Again, not an unusual situation. And part of that open enrollment that we enjoy here in many of the classes,
yes,
which make that possible. Talk a little bit about that open enrollment and how you took advantage of that.
At different times I've been able to, or open enrollment has been at any time, any given time. Honestly, I've never been told this date, this stage, you had to start, stop, and begin. They've been very gracious with it. Probably at sometimes to our teachers nail biting, but he takes us in each time and sets with our hours and sets goals and let us know, at what point we can achieve that. We talk with our financial aid advisors, and they can let us know within, within a certain period of time, what blocks and periods our financial aid will come, and then the disbursement, what's left from the Pell check.
You mentioned your instructor, Curtis Green, longtime instructor here, was actually in the industry, was a Navy veteran himself, went into the industry and then decided to teach. Not an unusual story here. Many times, for instance, Eddie Beckworth, our welding instructor, he could be out in the workforce making a really nice paycheck. He decides to impart his wisdom, his training to others, and he's put out thousands of people who are commensurately making those big paychecks, but he feels really self-satisfied and fulfilled simply by training those people. In the case of Curtis, how do you feel about him as an instructor, and talk a little bit about how that's worked out? Obviously, you've already spoken in good terms about him, but talk a little bit about how Curtis works with the students.
I enjoy Mr. Green's style of teaching. He's very one-on-one. Then he's also in a group, but one-on-one we are able to go to him at any time and find out what's going on within our study right there at that time. But because we are open enrollment, any student can be at any given point from the beginning to the end. So he remains very flexible with that. I think that his schooling within the Navy, and then when he got out of that, when he worked in an industrial plant in their maintenance, that led him into a lot of the industrial things, the instrumentation, the PLCs, and the new classes that are becoming available that the college is taking. So I think that we're able to glean a lot of information from someone who's worked in the workforce, in the industry, and in many different types of fields in the electrical field.
We say many times that the campus here at Florida Panhandle Technical College is like a small town. It's almost self-sufficient. If a classroom has some electrical problems, they grab some of the students or the instructor, and you guys take care of the problem. If there's a desk or a set of cabinets needs to be made, Stevie Elam and his cabinetry and woodworking class. In the case of electrical, we've actually seen you and other students running conduit for networking or doing some of this other kind of stuff. Talk a little bit about that and the fact that you really do get some hands-on, not just as class projects are in your lab, but this is real-world stuff when you're fixing things around there. I know in one particular case, automotive was installing a new piece of equipment. You came and did some troubleshooting on an electrical circuit. Talk about the value of being able to get that kind of experience here.
I think the hands-on, we have a lab set up to where we can do the hands-on, but having the facility here and being able to go from classroom to classroom in each setting, and us as students being able to diagnose and look and troubleshoot and have the freedom and the ability to do that has been invaluable, honestly. I've seen many more real-world working scenarios from that than I would have gleaned from any other lab scenario. Going from classroom to classroom and seeing the different needs in each classroom, because there's a much different need for the cybersecurity and the networking classrooms than would be needed from our automotive classroom and our welding class. Welding is a completely different type of codes and information that's needed for setting up that. And so it's very neat just to go from each classroom. We've gained a lot of information from that.
Not far from where we are here on campus today, on 231, just south of Mariana, is Green Circle. They are a wood pellet plant. They are a huge opportunity for this part of the country to produce what they do, but they operate with very few people relatively, despite the dozens and hundreds of railroad cars that come out of there. Martha Compton, director of the school, works very closely with the Northwest Florida Manufacturers Council, Rex Lumber in Graceville, Green Circle, West Point Home. What we have done here as a campus now is go to these employers, and rather than go to the business and say, we have a welder, how can you use this person? We go to the business and say, what can we teach? What can we train our students so that you then have a viable opportunity to make that person into an employee? Have you guys had the opportunity to spend any time at Green Circle?
We have not yet, and that's something that I am very interested in and hope to find out a little bit more about. I have a few more certifications that I definitely wanted to get. I had the opportunity once I had reached my amount of hours to do the OJT training out there and speak with them about it. That's something that it wasn't that I didn't not take advantage of it, but I knew that I wanted to pursue more certifications that were available to me before I ended my schooling. And so I didn't go ahead and take the OJT time that would be counted towards my hours of completion for my class. But I'm very interested in Green Circle and finding out what they have. And I've spoke with some of them. Mr. Green also sees that as a very nice career opportunity and a jump off.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Have you found that there are real opportunities? You mentioned Green Circle, you mentioned Curtis embracing that business, certainly. Looking down the road when you get done with school, do you see yourself as visiting Rex Lumber and Green Circle and some of these places? Or do you think that maybe some of that can actually be done prior to even getting out of the class, making some of those relationships?
Absolutely. I've went to them myself because they do offer co-oping, and that's just something that each student can look at as they start to complete out their program, and they see where they want to fit in and which one's a little more generalized. I actually am from Graceville, so Rex Lumber is just right there beside me. I think we all, even getting out of schooling, know that we still need that fundamental on-the-job learning experience and the experience that comes with hands-on. That's developed, and then over time, then you can apply more and more for your state license, but it requires a certain amount of on-the-job years worked experience. And so I see several of our local companies. There's also a shipping and a production company in Panama City. That's a shipyard down there. There's Train Manufacturing Company, the air conditioner company there, that has production line, and any kind of industrial park or anywhere around here locally can provide that needed area to develop what you're wanting to get at. And as far as the industrial side of electrical maintenance and equipment management.
Yeah, I couldn't disagree. Lots of opportunities. Where we live, we're sort of equidistant from Dothan and Panama City, Tallahassee not too far, Pensacola, hour and a half, but still not too far. Many people used to, on a daily basis, driving an hour or more to work. So should you want those, and many times they're commensurate with the pay, so it might be worth driving that hour and 15 minutes to be able to make that extra few dollars an hour.
Right.
What has been your biggest challenge in that electrical program?
I would say for me, as an older person coming back to learn and back into a new career field, I had quit school very early and got my GED actually here through when it was the VOTEC. And when I did so, I dropped out of school not having learned some fundamentals there maybe that align with the program now. And so starting back, just getting back to the basics and getting caught back up and learning some of the geometry and trigonometry and some of the functions that I really didn't have a grasp on before I left school. And I've had a lot of attention, a lot of help with that. There was the ELC, or the LRC, and I had a lot of help from the teachers there prior that I could go to and get any help that I needed catching back up on those fundamentals. I think other than that, it's just been the everyday toll of becoming a student again, having to train ourselves to be disciplined enough to study and learn and come in ready and prepared for our test on our test days. But other than that, I can't think of a whole lot of negatives or the things. It was pretty easy.
We just recently spoke with Jolie Hartzog, who replaced Mary Davis at the Adult Education in the LRC, Learning Resource Center. And I'm glad that you mentioned that you went through that process. We no longer say GED, now it's high school equivalency. At the end of the day, it's getting that diploma so that if a employer has a minimum requirement of a high school diploma, you meet those requirements. How long did you take advantage of the adult education program out here?
Well, I would have to say that Are you talking about when I acquired my high school diploma? I've maybe come for a month, just long enough just to tweak up some certain things. I'm blessed that I was well educated enough and up to date at the time. I just needed a few things to push me over. But also, I think that the standards have changed. A lot have changed in the years. And you're talking about, it was almost 20 years ago. So since that time, I think that their standards have changed a lot.
Yeah, and absolutely. So really you came just to tweak just enough to be able to take that test. Mm-hmm. The LRC here, Adult Education Program, does exactly that. So whether you need some remedial education and start at ground zero and you dropped out at a very early age, or like yourself, you were just lacking probably confidence as much as anything. It probably did you a lot of good just to be able to go through some of those things.
I think so. I think I just wasn't prepared. I didn't know what would be coming. So we just went over a lot of the basics, what I needed, just tweaking and getting those up to date to where I knew with confidence, you're right, the confidence needed, that I went and I took my test and I was prepared and prepared for that.
Well, you are very well spoken, and obviously you've had life experience, and so I can see why you've done well here coming in. Interestingly, on this campus, people are in these classrooms because they want to be. If you look at traditional elementary school education or high school education, for the most part, those kids don't want to be there, and that's why you have some that drop out, some that don't make it all the way through. The success story is that those who come back, and so best of luck. Thanks so much for taking the time today. Best of luck going forward. I know you're not 100%, you're feeling a little bit under the weather, but thanks so much. I think it's important that we let people know exactly what's offered here on the campus. Many people have lived around this area pretty much their whole lives up till now and still don't really know what's done on this campus. So thank you for sharing your experiences, and best of luck going forward.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much.
Here today with Lindsey McClellan, currently a student in the electrical program here at Florida Panhandle Technical College, talking about how she got involved in the programming out here at the Technical College, her life experiences up to that point, leading to the fact that she realized she wanted to have some remedial training, education, and preparation for what will be, I think, a well-paid job going forward. If you want to find out more, you can go to our website at fptc.edu. You can certainly stop here at the Student Services on Hoyt Street in downtown Chipley. Our motto is one life, 1 year, one great career. It becomes a little trite to say, but it can't be any more accurate that within a year's time, for the most part, you can go through one of these courses out here and then be able to sit a state board, sit a certification class somewhere to become qualified for, again, a very well-paid job. We'll be right back.